Ever feel like you need a secret decoder ring just to understand mortgages?
It's like everyone's speaking a different language, right?
Exactly. But luckily, we've got our hands on this awesome mortgage cheat sheet. It's going to be our Rosetta Stone today as we do a deep dive breaking down this stuff about mortgage brokers, direct lenders, all that jazz. Think of it like getting a backstage pass to the mortgage world. You ready to decode some of this with me?
Absolutely, let's do it. This cheat sheet is gold, by the way.
Hmm.
Really highlights how important it is to understand the motivations of all the players involved.
Right, like what are these brokers, lenders, banks, even those credit unions, what are they really trying to do?
Exactly. Once you get that, you can navigate the whole thing way better.
Love it. Okay, so let's jump right in. One of the first things that caught my eye in this cheat sheet was this whole lender paid credit versus borrower paid credit thing, LPC and BPC. Sounds super complicated, but is it really just like choosing between a discount now or like a rebate later?
You got it. You're on the right track. So, lender paid credit basically means they're covering some of your closing costs, but, and here's the catch, they're going to give you a slightly higher interest rate. Sounds appealing at first, right?
Sure. Like who doesn't want help with those closing costs?
Exactly, but it might actually cost you more over the life of the loan.
So you got to read the fine print, just like those no interest if paid in full deals.
Hmm.
Okay, so then there's borrower paid credit, which is what the opposite.
Pretty much. You're shouldering those closing costs up front, which, yeah, can feel like a punch to the gut because it's a big chunk of change. But the trade-off is usually a lower interest rate, and that can save you a ton of cash in the long run.
Interesting. So, like with most things in life, there are trade-offs to consider. Now, this cheat sheet also talks about, what was it? Oh, yeah, broker fees. Should those set off alarm bells?
Not necessarily. Brokers can be seriously helpful. They do a lot of legwork for you.
Yeah.
But transparency is key.
I like the sound of that.
Right. And that's what this cheat sheet emphasizes, actually. Ask about their fees up front before you even breathe a word about your credit score.
Uh-huh. So they can't pull a fast one. I'm starting to see a theme here. Knowledge is power.
Exactly. Because if they know your credit score, they could, tailor their kitsch based on how desperate they think you are.
That makes a ton of sense. So we've covered brokers. What about going directly to a lender? Is that like ditching the dating app and going straight for meeting someone in person?
That's a great analogy. Direct lenders cut out that middleman, that broker, which can sometimes mean more control and potentially lower costs. But, and there's always a but, they still got to make money, right? So often those costs are baked into your interest rate. The cheat sheet calls it cooking in the cost, actually, about 3 points or so.
Cooking the costs. That sounds sneaky, like hiding veggies in a smoothie. How do I spot those hidden costs?
You ask, seriously, don't be afraid to get into the nitty-gritty. Ask about the origination fee and the discount fee. Those are areas where you might be able to negotiate a bit.
So those fees are basically just profit for the lender.
Essentially, yeah. Especially if you're working with one of those top producing loan officers, the ones who are closing deals left and right, part of a big high volume operation. Often those fees are how they hit their targets.
Interesting. So they sound impressive, these top producing loan officers.
They can be, but just remember, they're part of a system. Be informed. Know what questions to ask. All right.
Got it. Okay. So we've talked brokers, we've talked direct lenders.
Sure.
What about those big banks? Their ads are everywhere, always shouting about amazing deals.
They can be competitive for sure, especially credit unions. They often have faster closing times, and actually, this cheat sheet says they can be tough to beat on rates, especially if you've got a really good credit score.
So maybe not the best option if your credit score needs a little love.
Not necessarily. It's always worth checking with them, but they might have stricter requirements. Look, the main takeaway here is don't just assume one type of lender is always the best. Each one has its own pros and cons. It all depends on what you need and what you're trying to achieve.
It's like choosing between airlines. They all get you there, but each one's got its own quirks, right?
100%. What this cheat sheet is really saying is be informed, ask the right questions, understand the fees, don't be afraid to haggle a little. Your future self will thank you.
So true.
Oh, look.
Okay, last question. You're about to go apply for a mortgage. You've got this cheat sheet knowledge in your back pocket. What's the first question you're hitting them with?
Can you show me the total cost of this loan? Like everything, all the fees, over the entire life of the loan.
Oh, and I'd also ask to see the numbers for both lender paid credit and borrower paid credit scenarios.
Boom. Mic drop moment right there. Knowledge is power, people. Take that mortgage and make it your own. Until next time.